We're now today on the third of a series of 6 talks by Shaykh Bahmanpour on the closeness to Allah, the power of the theme for these last 10 nights of this holy month of Ramadan. Many of us will know Shaykh Bahmanpour. He's a regular here at Mahfil, and he studied sociology at SICM Tabatabai University, where he obtained a master's degree. He was invited to Cambridge University to teach as a visiting lecturer, and he has many interests, including theology, Islamic mysticism, Quranic sciences, and tafsir, and has written many books, including Muslim Identity in the 21st Century. It's a real pleasure to have him again, so let's welcome him. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. Tonight is the commemoration of the 21st of Ramadan, in which Imam Ali, peace be upon him, was martyred by the strike of Ibn Muljam, who deviated from the path, and despite all the kindness that Imam Ali showed to him and showed to the followers of Khawarij, he venomously martyred him in the mosque. For that reason, I would digress from our main topic, which is the power of dua, to something different tonight. And that's the good governance from the point of view of Imam Ali alayhi salam. One of the best documents left from the time of Imam Ali alayhi salam in this area is his letter of covenant to Malik ibn al-Ashtar al-Nakhai, whom he appointed as the governor of Egypt. Of course, there are many examples from his life, from the 5 years which he was in power as caliph, which can tell us about what good governance was from the point of view of Imam Ali alayhi salam. But this document, because it's documented very nicely, and it's a written letter, a written covenant, it can tell us lots of things about this concept from the viewpoint of Imam Ali alayhi salam. This is one of the letters which is compiled by Sharif al-Razi in Nahj al-Balagha, which says, وَمِنْ كِتَابٍ لَهُ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ كَتَبَهُ الْأَشْتَرُ النَّخَئِي كَتَبَهُ إِلَى الْأَشْتَرِ النَّخَئِي لَمَّا وَاللَّهُ مِصْرَ. When he appointed him as the governor of Egypt, he wrote this letter to him. The very first paragraph of this letter tells us what Imam Ali alayhi salam viewed as the duties of a just government. He says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, هذا ما أمر به عبد الله علي أمير المؤمنين مالك ابن الأشتر في عهده إليه حين والله مصر. This is what the servant of God Ali, the commander of the faithful, and it's very interesting that before his name he mentions the acknowledgement of him being a servant of God, created by him, Abdullah Aliyun Amirul Mu'mineen. This is what Imam Ali actually took the pledge as a covenant between him and Malik al-Ashtar when he appointed him as the governor of Egypt. Now, 4 things he mentions as the duties of that government, which is actually appointing Malik al-Ashtar as the head of it. جباية خراجها وجهاد عدوها واستصلاح أهلها وإمارة بلادها. four things. First of all, collecting the taxes, which is actually the basis of the welfare in the society. Second thing is to bring about security, to secure the area from the enemies. Jihad aduwha. When the enemies would attack, you have to wage war on them. Not initially, of course, because it says jihad aduwha. The enemy, when they embark on an attack, you have to fight them. So it's taxes, security, wastislaha ahlaha, and to improve the situation of the people there. Wa imarata bilada, and to construct the cities, construction. So it's taxes, so it's the money that is needed for the welfare of the people, security, improving the situation of the people, construction of what is under your governance. These four duties he points out for him. And then, very important thing he mentions at the beginning, that is, try to secure peace with all neighbors and enemies as much as you can. The original principle of Islam is to secure peace with everyone, no matter what their faith is. And that is what we are actually trying to do today among all nations. Unfortunately, we see that, yes, there are certain groups which take terrorism as jihad and confuse people about Islam. However, as if Muslims have a right government, they have to try to live peacefully with everyone. And that's what you see, for example, the Islamic Republic of Iran is trying to do. However, it's attacked from every side. Otherwise, the first principle is to secure peace. And this is what Imam Ali alayhi salam mentions to Malik al-Ashtar. وَلَا تَدْفَعَنَّ صُلْحًا دَعَاكَ إِلَيْهِ عَدُوُّكَ. Never reject. Is with لَا تَدْفَعَنَّ, with emphasis in the verb. Never reject a peace offered to you by your enemy, as long as there is satisfaction of God in it. وَلِلَّهِ فِي الرَّضَى. Because sometimes peace is offered, but it's a deception. Peace is offered with conditions which are not acceptable, with humiliating conditions. That's not what he means. Peace with dignity. You give dignity, you receive dignity. وَلَا تَدْفَعَنَّ صُلْحًا دَعَاكَ إِلَيْهِ عَدُوُّكَ وَلِلَّهِ فِيهِ رَضَى فَإِنَّ فِي الصُّلْحِ دَعَةً لِجُنُودِكَ. There are many benefits in peace. First of all, the army can rest. They don't need all the time fighting. وَرَاحَةً مِّنْ هُمُومِكَ. You have peace of mind. وَأَمْنًا لِبِلَادِكَ. You have security in your cities. However, ولكن الحذر كل الحذر ولكن الحذر كل الحذر من عدوك بعد صلحه فإن العدو ربما قارب ليتقفل فخذ بالحزم. Be on guard from your enemy after you make peace, because sometimes peace is just a device for deception, for taking you by surprise. So you have to be prudent in that. And that's something that, unfortunately, most of the so-called advanced nations are using the term peace, using it as a deception, as a device for aggression, as a device for plundering other nations, for bringing calamities on other nations, just for national interests And national interest is another version of self-interest. The other thing that Imam alayhi salam mentions is that you always have to prefer the advantage and the benefit of the public, even if it goes against the benefit of politicians, of your people, of the people around you in the court. You have to prefer what benefits the general public. And this is, Egypt is a nation which has Muslims, Christians, other faiths, and that is what Imam Ali mentions in this letter, that this very, very epic statement that we always use. This is what he mentions to Malik Ashtar, that you are going to a people that they are either your brethren in faith or you're similar in creation. إما أخ لك في الدين أو شريك لك في الخالق. You have to look after benefit of all of these people. وليكن أحب الأمور إليك أوسطها في الحق وأعمها في العدل. The best things or most preferred things towards you is what is more towards justice, what its justice covers an overarching benefit for everyone, وأجمعها لرضا الرعية, and what brings the satisfaction of the general public. Once you read this letter, you think that this is not written for a Muslim governor, because what we see from Muslim countries and Muslim governors is absolutely against it. And I tell you, some people say that, say for example, Western countries, advanced countries are better using these than Muslim countries. I tell you, it's not. At least not for other nations. They are good for themselves. But when it comes to other nations, they do not regard any treaty, any pledge, any covenant, any regard for lives, properties, unlike what we see in this letter. The Imam is advising Malik al-Ashtar. He says that it is better that you anger the elites around you, that you anger the public. Because anger of the elites, you can somehow deal with it. But anger of the public, you cannot remedy it. So you have to pay attention to that. You have to use expertise of scientists, of knowledgeable people, finding out what is the best procedure, best algorithm to govern the country. وأكثر مدارسة العلماء ومناقشة الحكماء. Frequently consult with the knowledgeable people, social scientists, whatever, and hukama, the wise people, whoever can help you in a good governance, في تثبيت ما صلح عليه أمر بلادك, so that you can benefit from their knowledge, but reinforcing what would benefit your cities and what would be the best benefit of the people. And then Imam alludes to something which is another version of social security that we see in certain countries today. ثم الله في الطبقة السفلى. Then I warn you by God about the poor people. من الذين لا حيلة لهم من المساكين والمحتاجين, those who have no choice, no way, or no earning to live in dignity. The poor, the needy, أهل البؤسة والزمنة, the handicapped, the ill people. فإن في هذه الطبقة قانعا ومؤترا. In this group, there are poor, needy people who would not ask, but they are really in need. واحفظ لله ما استحفظك من حقه فيهم. You have to keep in mind what Allah has advised you about them. واجعل لهم قسما من بيت مالك. Part of your treasury should be spent on these people. Is this anything but social security for the poor? And is this not something that if we can manage nicely, we wouldn't see the grave calamity of having poverty in our societies? وقسما من غلات سواف الإسلام. Part of your treasury, part of the crops should go في كل بلد, in every city, not only in your capital. فإن للأقصى منهم مثل الذي للأدنى. Those who live far away should have exactly the same as those who live near you. It's not something that you feel pity for someone and just pay them casually, precariously. No, this should be a system. It is a right of the poor that you have to give them. Anyhow, the letter is very long, and I think it is the best manifesto of good governance, unprecedented in history, in the time that this letter is issued. Unfortunately, the society at the time of Imam Ali could not tolerate, or it was more than what they could carry, what they could understand. They couldn't understand how the poor and the rich should be equal, how part of the property of the rich should go for the poor. Why? Why masters and slaves have the same rights in humanity? Why Arab and Ajam and non-Arab should be equal? These were the things that actually created that outrage against Imam Ali alayhi salam. As one of the authors say, Imam Ali was killed. He was a victim of his justice. His justice killed him because people could not tolerate that. As Imam Ali said when he came to power, he said, ألا وإن بليتكم قد عادت كهيئتها يوم بعث الله نبيه. Your problems, your troubles, internal, external, have come back exactly in the same way when the Prophet, peace be upon him, was appointed as a prophet. Exactly like the time of Jahiliyyah. Yes, the attire is changed. Now you wear different dresses. You go to mosque, you pray. You go to Kaaba where there is no idols anymore. However, the attitude is not changed. The behavior is not changed. The social system is not changed. So that is why they could not tolerate him. That is why during the short period of his life, wars were waged against him from every quarter. Anyhow, after he was hit, this is one of the sayings in Nahj al-Balagha, sermon number 70. قال عليه السلام في سحرة اليوم الذي ضرب فيه. In the morning of the day when he was hit, He said, ملكتني عيني وأنا جالس. I fell asleep while I was sitting. فسنح لي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله. Rasulullah came to my dream. فقلت يا رسول الله ماذا لقيت من أمتك من الأود واللدد. I said, Ya Rasulullah, what had I to endure from your ummah in terms of deviation and animosity? فقال أدعو عليهم. The Prophet told me, supplicate against them. أدعو عليهم. Ask God to requite them for what they did to you. فقلت, in the dream I said, أبدلني الله بهم خيرا. May Allah give me companies better than these people. وأبدلهم بي شرا لهم مني. And may Allah would change me with a leader which they deserve, which certainly is much worse than what we can imagine. And this is what happened. Inshallah, Allah in these blessed nights will give us the tawfiq to help moving our societies towards this type of governance, trying to create a system which is exemplary in all nations. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.